If you look hard enough, you can find unused leftovers in final Windows releases, including a few lines in MSDOS.INF, a text file located in WINDOWS.INF. Say you wanted to create an emergency boot disk in Windows 95 under Add Remove Programs. This disk doesn't supply any CD-ROM drivers, which you'll most likely need to reinstall Windows 95, but if you scroll to the section in MSDOS.INF that tells Windows which files to copy from the CD to a startup disk, you'll find that a number of files were originally intended to be added to the disk, but were later excluded. Among the excluded files is a driver called MSCDEX.EXE. This shows that CD-ROM support was originally meant to be included in the startup disk by default, but up until 1995, IDE CD-ROM drives were not necessarily the norm. CD-ROM drives were often controlled by SCSI or proprietary interfaces, and attempting to address all of these interfaces in a single boot disk would have taken up more space than needed. Later on, I'll have to check earlier Chicago builds to see which drivers were originally included in the startup disk. Since MSDOS.INF is a plain text file, it's really easy to restore the functionality of copying CD-ROM drivers. Just have your own CD-ROM driver handy and create two files called config.ebd and autoexec.ebd. These files work exactly the same as the ordinary MS-DOS startup files, only with different extensions so as to not conflict with entries that may be in layout.inf. When you add the entries for config.sys and autoexec.bat under ebd copy files 2, type the name of the respective .ebd files after the first comma. The second parameter tells setup the name of the source file to copy and renames the destination file to what is specified in the first parameter. You can now insert the setup CD to prepare the majority of the startup disk files for copying. Of course, our own configuration files and driver won't be stored on the original setup CD, so you need to point to the directory where they are located when prompted. Insert a floppy disk, wait for a couple of minutes, and restart the computer with the disk in the drive. As you see here, the startup disk you've created here includes CD-ROM support, just as it was meant to. There's still plenty of space on the disk with the CD-ROM driver copied, so if you really want to, you can uncomment some or all of the entries for the scrapped files. If you uncomment MSD.EXE, keep in mind that the program is located in your setup CD under Other MSD. Xcopy.exe requires the presence of Xcopy32.exe, so you'll have to add an entry for that as well. And there you have Windows 95's default startup disk that never was. Enjoy!